Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk.
What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How
could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning again to another episode of the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-wing. We're here to make mistakes so you don't have to. I'm your pilot, Jim Chadwick. I have sitting next to me my co-pilot, Phil Mead. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. Just to let everyone know, there is a travel ban ongoing. All citizens of the Cothless, Mandel, and Senate systems are banned from embarking and entering Imperial space. Again, a lot of people have questions about this. This is not a ban on Bothans. I know all these systems are in the Bothan sector, but this is not a ban on Bothans, guys.
Right. I mean, if we walked the streets in our uniform on those systems, we'd be dead. Beheaded on HoloNet. But if these guys, we want these guys into the systems.
Bothans are extremely dangerous.
You know, people think that we plan this. I never know what you're going to say each week. It cracks me up. We have J-Bot, our cranky protocol droid. J-Bot, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually went to the circus yesterday, which was for the first time in many, many cycles. So I suggest anyone who has never been or who wants to go now, because there's a good chance the Empire is going to shut that crazy place down here in the near future. So
did
it
you
might
see
be your
that on
last
Spaceball
opportunity.
1?
No, I don't think I did. I don't remember exactly where I saw that at, but it was definitely space related. So it might have been there. I was not really the driver that got me there. So I do have another pilot on the side every once in a while, just so you know.
We all have Uber. I'm not personally offended. In fact, it makes me think
I can't always be seen in this thing, you know.
We can talk about that either now or later, about the Uber and the party bus and a list that you predicted, I believe, that might be tournament meta.
I don't know if it's going to make it to the meta based on the results of the recent tournament the guys ran through. But yeah, we can discuss that.
It sure made it on Blake, Mr. X-wing's hate list. That's for sure.
I think he gave away his quad jumper without having played
Really?
it. I'm not even sure if he opened it. Yeah.
Oh.
It became the phantom of Blake's life, basically.
Oh yeah, he hated it. So J-Bot, when we were talking about the quad jumper, J-Bot did say that he thinks someone's going to be taking 5 of them. And then
you could get it all. Yeah, you can get them into the list. I'd never obviously thought all the way through it. That's not what I do. But I was like, I would love to see a whole bunch of these on the table, just as that is your list, because I think it would be fun with just tractor beams and just getting in everything's way. And so one of the guys for the last few weeks is like, I really want to do this. I really want to do this at the store we play at. So he did. When they came out, he basically took almost every single one that the store had. And he put together a list, and I do not know the specifics, but I know he had essentially a different bounty hunter crew on each one of them, like Zuckus and Forlom and all the rest of those guys. And he played against Blake's, I'm not sure exactly what list it was, but I don't know if it's Blake's like tournament list or exactly what it was, but
yeah, I think it is
all of those. Essentially, the first turn, if I recall, he went forward one with all of these ships, and of course I think Blake has a K-wing or something that list, so he comes across pretty fast, and then the second turn he just backed up. He just backed all the ships up. So he essentially pulled Blake all the way over to his side of the map. And then the next turn he went forward and started tractor beaming everything onto rocks or just getting these ships.
Oh, and mines. So Blake learned to love mines from my TIE bombers, from me teaching him about bombs. And so he put out mines, and he got tractor beamed like on rocks, on mines, on everything.
Yeah, and so he essentially got, I think, the large base ship. I think he flies a Ghost or a Falcon or something in that list. And so he got the quad jumpers to these perfect spots where, without the Ghost basically, or let's assume it was a Ghost, being able to go like full hard out, he was just going to bump one of them. Essentially just I can back up one space and you're not going to be able to do anything more than like a really fast maneuver to get out of it. And so with all of these tractor beams and stuff tagging him and him keeping him blocked, he just couldn't do anything. And all those ships are at range 1. So they just laid waste into him. And he was so frustrated. You could see it across the room.
Yeah. Negative play experience, I think, is what the
Now the guy he did end up getting beat by another list. Once somebody kind of saw the trick, the other person was able to overcome it, but he had to do some very extreme things, which I won't say because I don't want to ruin this guy's list, and it will require you to. It was another tournament.
All the tournament players.
He had to base. Yeah, he had to. Yeah, for all those guys that show up tournament. I don't want to give away the secret, but basically the tournament guy had to do stuff you would never do in a tournament. Like he basically had to use casual level maneuvers. Of like, to hell with it. I'm just going to do this, because he was so kind of stuck. The guy had worked it so well that he's like, okay, this is nothing a tournament player would do because of the odds or blah, 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 blah. But a casual guy would throw this random maneuver in there that makes no sense in general, but works in this instance alone. And essentially he flew crazy, and he was able to overcome this kind of circle of doom that these five quad jumpers create. Because if they get a ship if they get a ship tagged with one of these, they can bounce them all over the map. If you think about it, one after the other. Oh, look, I'm going to barrel roll you.
You can only barrel roll once.
Right, but I'm going to tag you with all of these tractor beam tokens. So I'm going to barrel roll you into a perfect spot for the rest of them to hammer you with range 1 shots if they can.
Yeah.
And you're losing the agility. So if I need to get a couple agility off of you, I can run you to 0, more and more efficiently with each shot. So, you've got 2 agility. Well, now once I get the first hit, now you're at 1. The second hit becomes easy. Now you're at 0, and now the rest of them just hammer
you. The quad jumpers and the space tug tractor array, they don't need to hit. They just need to get you in range 1 in arc, and I think it's just an action to assign the tractor beam. So you get to do the tractor beam, and you get to shoot them with your primaries.
Yeah,
you're not going to have a focus token, probably.
Right. But either way, it becomes a matter of almost any ship, if you get them in that arc, is going to run to 0 agility and then get hammered with anything that.
And you could add like Zuckus in to make you reroll dice and like all the different bounty.
Which is what he had. He had all those. He had Boba on one of them. I mean, it was funny. It was like they're all just out for a weekend joyride. He called it, I think, the party bus list because it was just.
He said that they were all returning from the party bus, and so this was all their Uber rides that they're got. So this was their Uber rides coming home from the party bus. I like to call it Cinco Quadro instead of Quattro, because it's 5 quad jumpers, and so Cinco, meaning 5 Quadro.
Jim has to name every list he ever runs across.
Not always, but I have fun with it.
Must name every list available.
Time honored tradition.
I just made it one time. It's never getting played again. I don't care. It must have a name.
They don't all have a list, but if I like it, or if I can come up with something clever, then I'll do it. But yeah, so that was a pretty fun list and fun to see. Like, oh, the day it came out, he's opening them. He's got like 5 of them lined up. It was just kind of absurd.
Yeah, I didn't think. I think most of us were like, I don't know that you're ever going to really see a quad jumper in a real tournament list. But
I think you will.
Now you never know. Now you really never know if somebody could, if that guy, he went to the recent tournament, and I know him as a player. He's like, the more I drink, the worse I get. And I think the place they went to serves beer.
Yes.
So he might have played really well the first few games, and then just been like, all right, to hell with it. I'm just gonna enjoy myself, and fell off. So he might have been able to do really well had he stayed focused, or he could have just gotten obliterated by some stupid, overly powerful meta list that's out there.
I know the regional here in North Carolina is in Durham, and Atomic Empire was a really small store, but they had a big web presence, and they ended up in Durham. Durham kind of has some bad areas. They found an old Kmart that was like not used for years, and they actually, so it's an older one, but it's still pretty large. So they went and actually built their game store in an old Kmart, old abandoned haunted Kmart. And I mean, they've got they would have over 100 people Warhammer tournaments. So they play in a 4x6 table, 2 people on a 4x6, and they could fit 100 of those tables in and still have other games going on. And they also have a bar with craft beer. So Blue Light Special over here, past Blue Ribbon. But yeah, so I know he was talking about that. And there's another game store in the Charlotte area that serves beer too that I've not made it to. If I make it, I might not leave. Right.
That's why you need your Uber to get you home.
That's what you need, the Uber, yeah. So overall, we kind of skipped the captain's question. And so I'm going to give a quick and easy, dirty captain's question in here. So guys, what is, in X-wing, what is your favorite turret?
Like, I have a soft spot for auto blaster turrets.
Yeah?
I mean, it's tough to, get them to shoot consistently because you have to be at range 1. But they're very cheap. They're pretty damn effective for that cost. And I think it's a cool little turret. It's something that is not just out and out very powerful. It requires a lot of finesse to use correctly, to use to good effect.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. And so J-Bot?
Now, I think people know what mine is. I'm a big fan of Ion in general, so obviously the Ion turret is my biggest favorite. I have lamented for a long time the kind of hatred that people have for turrets in general, like, oh, it's a turret ship, I hate those things, blah blah blah. And it's the only defense you have against all the arc dodgers that they seem to keep adding to the game, or at least they keep making them more powerful. So for me, the Ion turret is my favorite because it does 2 things to arc dodgers. It basically allows you to hit them no matter where they're at, and if you do, it ruins their day completely. It's like, oh, well, I'm sorry, your next turn with all your fancy maneuvers is now restricted to that 1 white, and maybe a boost, maybe a barrel roll or something, but I'm going to have a really good idea where you're going to be on the next turn to focus my list against it. So I think that's one of the many reasons I love the Ion turrets.
Yeah, I do like Ions. I do. They're kind of classics. I love them. Though, speaking of arc dodgers, someone was just starting a thread. Oh, we need to give a boost to the TIE Interceptor. Like, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah. So finally, Soontir is not the number 1 ship to go to. Finally, for the first time since he came out, it seems. And you want to give the Interceptor a boost? I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But yes. Anyways, so for my turret choice, I'm going to go for dorsal turret. It's cheap. It does its job. It's not amazing, but like if I want to, I like to put ordnance on my Y-wings, and I could just throw on the dorsal turret, not to feel too bad because it's pretty cheap, and it goes beyond range 1. So I kind of like the dorsal turret. I think it does a lot.
Okay, cool.
All right. So we do have our main topic. We got a hodgepodge, a smorgasbord of topics, I think. But I know Phil wanted to talk about the Custom Card League.
Right. So on the FFG forums, and I'll try and stick a link on this podcast description. And you can also find this on our Facebook. I'm running a Custom Card League. This is the second season of the Custom Card League. We had a season last year in which we had over, I think, 200 or 300 entries of individual cards. And I eventually put together a Vassal extension so you could play with these the cards that ended up winning the voting. And we had a small Custom Card League tournament. So that was a lot of fun, and we're doing it again. This season the rules are a little different. We're, instead of individual card submissions, we're doing submissions by expansions. So it's sort of like submitting an expansion set that you might buy in the store. So like you know how like the TIE Fighter expansion pack comes with 2 or 3 generic pilots and like a few unique pilots and a few upgrades and things like that. That's sort of the format for all the entries this year. And right now we're in the middle of voting for Rebel expansions. So we have a bunch of Rebel custom ships. We have a bunch of Rebel Aces packs. I'm just going to go through some of the voting will actually be over by the time this podcast airs, unfortunately. But
It's kind of cool though. I like the pack idea.
Yeah, the packs are so the deal is that of the Rebel expansion packs, we're going to be taking the top voted custom ship and top voted Aces pack. Because you can submit Aces packs or entirely new custom ships. So we're getting a good mix of both. Maybe I think we did get a few more Aces packs than custom ships because the Rebels are kind of mined out for in terms of like the source material for their custom ships. So like the custom ships that we're getting are not. It's pretty much nothing that's been seen on like a TV screen, right?
Yeah.
So we've got except for one ship, we did get several N1 Naboo Starfighter submissions.
Oh.
Because I think the Rebels end up using the N1 in some of the comics. It shows up, and I think Princess Leia flies one at some point,
huh.
And a few other pilots fly them for the Rebellion. So now people have submitted that as a possible custom ship. Also, the Chiss Clawcraft is there, which shows up in some of the old expanded universe books, now Legends, and also a couple other obscure starfighters. The R-41 Star Chaser. You guys ever heard of that thing?
What is it?
R-41
I don't think
Star
I have.
Chaser. So
No.
it showed up in some of the TIE Fighter X-wing line of games, computer games, as a sort of low-level rebel ship, low-level rebel / scum ship. It's basically it's sort of like a clunkier Z95.
Oh, okay.
And then also there's the T-wing, which almost looks like a Colonial Viper from Battlestar Galactica, without
Right.
the wing fins sticking out from where the engines are.
Huh.
And that is sort of like an A-wing. It's very speedy, but instead of missiles, it has torpedoes, and it has an astromech. So
Okay.
it actually makes some significant changes because you can do interesting things with an A-wing type dial and an astromech slot.
Oh yeah.
Because you'll be able to get the green turns and
Yeah, like one hard turn green
maneuvers from R2
Yeah.
astromech, which is only 1 point, so it's actually a pretty good deal.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I did hear that Disney was further removing themselves and taking a step to eliminate the EU. I mean, Legends to kind of even push themselves further away. They're calling it now. They're renaming it, calling it Star Wars Myths. No, I'm full of crap. I'm just totally making that up.
Okay. It's like whatever.
Don't throw that out there. People actually think that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just
as far as I'm concerned,
we're
they've
rebranding it, so
yeah.
you'll never see it.
I wouldn't be surprised though. Don't give them any ideas like that. Just in case any of them are listening.
Yeah. My impression as far as that whole thing goes is that a lot of the people working for Star Wars development now are people who've read old EU books and stuff from the EU or, prequel, pre-prequel era, KOTOR era, has been creeping into new Star Wars stuff. So we have
Oh, absolutely.
Admiral Thrawn on the EU side, the futuristic EU side, and then the Hammerhead Corvette of fame, of Rogue One fame, is essentially lifted straight from KOTOR games, right?
Yeah, it was the Endar Spire, or at least very, very similar. It's the same kind of ship pattern. But that actually begs the question. I know this is kind of off the main topic here, but if Disney is kind of controlling everything from this point forward, is kind of the way I understood it. If they're kind of, I hate to say censoring the content, but if they're overseeing anything that comes out,
they have editorial.
Right. Does that mean that
power.
anything that does come out in an officially licensed Disney capacity is considered canon, or is it only what comes out in the movies? So like, it's only Rebels, is only this, but like if they put a video game out today, like with Disney's seal on it, does that mean anything that's in that is considered canon to the universe?
Video games, particularly like phone apps and such, I think are stretching it. And I think, because I guess something showed up in like a, Galaxy of Heroes or something like that.
Well, yeah. For me, like they put Darth Nihilus. He's about to come out, which is one of the villains from KOTOR 2. So, or Nihilus, or however they say his name. So it makes me wonder, like, are they saying that this? I mean, I know he's technically a Legends character, but now he's appearing in an official game. Now it's set 3,000 years before the current kind of universe that everybody's mostly familiar with. But does that mean they're basically saying, hey, wait a minute, this guy is now an official canon character, even though he's way, way, way back in the past, because they're putting him in something currently?
There could be an argument for it, but I have to say, because when I first heard things, I heard, oh, Disney's taking the entire EU and they're flushing it, and it's no longer null and void, and it's empty and gone, and
but that was just that was fear talk. Was what that was. That was because I remember people like, oh my God, Disney's taking over. They're going to ruin everything. They're going to destroy my childhood by getting rid of all this comic books that I read growing up, et cetera, et cetera. No matter how much they came out and said, no, we're not getting rid of it. We're just going to
They're just giving themselves latitude to be able to write a new story.
Right. We're going to repurpose it.
Rewrite it a bit to make more sense, or to cut out the stupid, lame things.
Well, I would not bet that we're going to get a overall less stupid or less lame universe.
Well,
I think that stuff is just going to come back again. I mean, not the same exact stuff, but
some
new
of those
stupid stuff.
Stories, some of those things will get cut and left.
Yeah, that's where I think the people were like, oh no, that means they're going to get rid of Thrawn. They're going to get rid of all this cool stuff. And okay, yeah, they're going to rewrite what happens after the movies, but all these kind of third-party characters that people created their own, in a sense, sanctioned fan fictions is what probably 90% of the books that were out there pre-Disney takeover were. It's like, yeah, they're getting rid of that stuff.
You're going to give me money? Sure, I'll put
my
stamp on it.
Here, it's got Star Wars on it, and Lucas just said, yeah, put my stamp on it. Run it by the stamp department. And have.
Where's my check? Here's your stamp.
I don't know if it was exactly like that.
It seemed like it, but that's I think that was where a lot of people got afraid of it, is that they were never, like, Thrawn was too big of a character. He had to show up at some capacity.
Some people didn't think so. Some people thought Thrawn was gone.
Yes.
No,
Those people are idiots, because if you even read what Disney said, they're not going to get rid of anything. They're just putting it out there. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, until they can actually rewrite it to fit into a cohesive plan, because so much of the EU was just not worth reading and terrible and just bad.
Absolutely. And what's funny is that I actually got, I think it was after episode 1, somebody gave me a gift that was like the complete, I can't think of the word now, but basically the timeline of the Star Wars universe. And it had episode 1, obviously, and all the general stuff that happened there. And then episode 4, all the general stuff, and then forward. And then it had a block in the timeline between those two that's like, oh, the records are still being processed and we're not really sure what happened. We hear stories about a war between clones, blah, blah, blah. And that's basically what Disney did, is they said, all this stuff is shady and we're not really 100%. We're still, delving into the archives to figure out exactly what happened. And so I took it to be exactly that, is that they haven't exactly figured out how they're going to use all those characters. So whenever I see, and I'll draw this back to the Custom Card League, whenever I was watching the cards and stuff from the previous one, and I'd see people post things from like video games and stuff, it always made me wonder, like, is this just from their favorite ship, or are they really just delving deep into the mine, never knowing, what they're going to get? They've dug too deep, sort of thing. and they pulled out that ship you just told us a second ago. It's like a headhunter, but crappier. Oh, how much more worse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not doing the actual custom card league entry of the R41 justice. That's actually, it's pretty interesting, that particular submission. Let me pull it up real fast. So, for example, the generic R41 pilot is PS2, Attack 2, Agility 2, Hull 3, Shields 2. It's got Focus Target Lock Barrel Roll, and it's got a cannon slot and a missile slot. So
cannon slot. Ooh.
Cannon slot to
that should
attack
be better
ship
than
is
a
actually,
headhunter.
very, very aggressive, let's say. Because
that should be much better than a headhunter, unless they gave it a hawk dial.
Yeah, let me look at the dial. So, yeah, it's certainly a bit more restrictive than the headhunter. So we got 1 banks are green, no 1 straight, no 1 turn. It's got 2 white turn, 2 banks and 2 straights are green. 3 turn is hard, 3 bank, 3 straight are white. It's got a 3 koi gran and a 4 red straight. So, how is that compared to a hawk dial, you think, Jonathan? Well, it's got a koi gran, so...
Yeah, it's got a K turn, but that's not necessarily that big of a deal. On the Hawk, I'm not really super concerned about it on Hawks. It would be fun to have on a Hawk. I'm actually hoping they'll add a card out there sometime that'll, similar to the vectored thrusters, that'll let me put one on the ship. But because you're putting a turret on a Hawk, it's not that big of a deal. But it's very similar. You said it was a 4K turn or a 3K turn? 3K, and then a 4 straight. That's very interesting, because I think the 3 straight on the Hawk is white, so in a lot of ways that ship doesn't have a 3 straight, or did it?
It does have a 3 white.
It does have. Is it? It was white. Yeah. Okay. It's more maneuverable. Unfortunately, but it doesn't take much to outdo.
Yeah. No, it's certainly not where it should be. And
what about the TIE
lack
Punisher?
Of a 1 straight, the lack of a 1 straight is big, especially for a potential cannon carrier.
Right, yeah. The 1 straight is the only maneuver I can think off the top of my head that the Hawk does have that it doesn't. But I mean, it doesn't sound that bad of a ship. I mean,
no, it's certainly very dangerous.
You said it was a barrel roll and a cannon.
Yeah.
So, and a 3 hull, which is not anything to shake a stick at. It's not bad. It might be too much. I don't know for costs and stuff like that. But obviously, we're not supposed to be going through.
And we'll see how it does in the voting. But there's a chance that it'll show up in the final CCL extension. So the way the voting works is you can either vote a ship. You can either say that you like a ship, that you have no opinion, or that you actually dislike it. So if you think a ship is overpowered, if you think that cards are going to make weird combos, if you think it's dangerous or something like that, you can actually say that you dislike a ship and try to keep it out of the final extension, as opposed to just only being able to vote ships up. And people exercise that option a lot if they don't like it.
I'll say that this has gotten a lot of attention on the forums. Like, I remember you did it the first time and kind of was in the background, but this one's actually got enough that people were complaining about so many threads.
Yeah, especially when it was just kicking off. There was a ton of threads, CCL threads on the main page, enough to get complainers' eyeballs on it.
Right, that means you're getting somewhere.
That's right. That's right. I think we do need a lot more Imperial expansions. I don't think I've gotten too many. There's not too many Imperial expansions on the radar, and there is time for people to develop and submit those, because it will probably be in about a month that we start taking those submissions.
Cuban Boy was posting his new TIE Phantom fix on the Facebook page.
I did see that. It might be a teensy bit underpriced for what he's got on that ship, but we'll see how it does.
I don't know if it's got enough, if it's powerful enough in today's meta. So
that's true. It is quite weak compared to some of the ships we've seen recently. So tell me again, how much do you need to enter? You need a ship and like all the upgrade cards, or does it need to be multiple ships, like an Aces pack, or you need like two ships plus half a dozen pilots and upgrade cards?
So it depends on what kind of pack you're submitting. Custom ships, you only need. There's a few different combinations of cards that you can have in terms of like unique cards and upgrade cards, sort of reflecting the variation that we see in the FFG expansions. So if you remember the Interceptor just expansion pack with a single Interceptor in it, it comes with I think 6 pilots total. I think there's 3 generics and 3 uniques in it, and then it has just 2 upgrade cards. So there's that style, and there's also 2 generic, 2 unique, and 3 to 4 new upgrades pack that you can do. Those are for custom ships. For Aces, you can have. Let me actually pull up the form here. You're going to have the opportunity to make new generic pilots. You're going to be able to make new custom pilots. So for 2 Aces, you can make up to 2 new generic pilots per each ship, but you aren't obligated to make any. You do need to make unique pilots, so you can have 2 to 3 unique pilots per ship. Then you can have fix upgrades. So these are upgrades that are specific to the particular ships that you are presenting in the Aces pack. So they would have the text X-wing only, for example, if you're presenting these as X-wing fixes. And you can have 0 to 2 per ship. And then you can have 3 to 4 generic new custom upgrades in a Aces pack. So you can have a lot of you can definitely have more cards in an Aces pack, and that is because the basic ships themselves have already been included in the game and verified. So you're not tinkering around with the base stats of the X-wing, for example. Those have already been established in the game, and the dial has been established. So you get to play around with a lot more unique pilots and cards and upgrades with an Aces pack, where with the custom ship, a lot of the design focus is in just making the dial and the ship and the upgrade slots and all of that. Just the basic ship itself is probably the biggest deal in that kind of a pack. lot of people have submitted X-wing and Y-wing Aces packs, going off the new Rogue One movie. So we have I think we have 4 or 5 different iterations of X-wings and Y-wings.
Yeah, new leader, General. What's his name?
Yeah, Antok Merrick, I believe is his full name. General Merrick shows up a lot, along with several other pilots that were in the movie. So I think, just from sheer saturation, there's a pretty good chance that we'll get a X-wing or Y-wing Aces pack in the final Vassal extension, which is not a bad thing, certainly for X-wings.
How many players will you have total, do you think, roughly?
For the tournament at the end?
Yeah.
I think last year we had 8. So I'll expect more than 8, but I don't know. So far, in terms of votes, we've had quite a few. Let me see what the tally is now. So, 73 votes. And that's
more than 8.
It actually takes quite a bit of effort to if you're really looking at these and voting, because there are 16 expansions, and each expansion has around 10 cards at least. So it takes, if you're actually looking at these and considering them, that's quite a bit of effort from 73 people. So it's pretty encouraging. And,
that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing which one wins. I'm looking forward to Imperial and Scum submissions. I think Imperials are next, and I think I'm probably gonna put in my own custom submissions for that. See how they do. I'm probably gonna have the Scimitar Assault Bomber and a Aces pack for TIE Fighters and TIE Punishers. That's
I like the sound of a Scimitar Assault Bomber, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
excellent.
That's also EU stuff. Thrawn used them.
Oh, all that dirty EU stuff. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm glad to see you've been doing that. I know J-Bot and I have been testing some Mario Kart. And with another
cool.
You want to
have you made any developments with the Mario Kart setup you have?
Yes, I know J-Bot is the one leading this, but I do want to say we're trying to trim it down to fit into time frames for Gen Con, and so we want to do things to speed up the game, but that overall should improve Mario Kart rules, at least that our version, because I think there's at least one other version out there that people are trying, to kind of speed things up. So a faster game should be a better game overall with Mario Kart. So we've been trying a lot of different ideas and things in an attempt to kind of make it go faster, because we've had some games where after 2 hours we're only halfway through the course. And we've been trying to tweak a few things, but J-Bot, do you want to talk more about it?
Yeah, I don't recall how much we've talked about in general the plan for Gen Con.
Yeah, drips and drabs, not too much.
Yeah, I will. I'll go ahead and say we haven't nailed down everything yet. Obviously, we're still doing a ton of play testing, but the general idea is I'm essentially from racing country. I'm from North Carolina, live in the Mooresville area, which is essentially like Race City, USA for the old NASCAR stuff. So growing up, I went to a lot of the classic kind of Saturday night races, dirt track stuff, demolition derbies, monster truck sorts of things growing up. So when I first played Mario Kart, obviously I loved the old video game, but I suddenly had this vision in my head, we can turn X-wing into this kind of version of that Saturday night racing. And since we were looking for some things to do at Gen Con, I said, you know what? I think if we get this right, we can create something that's a lot of fun and gives people, in a sense, 3 different options for how they would like to do Mario Kart. If they've never done it at all, I think they'd have fun really in any 3 of them if we get it right. So to that end, I basically broke this up into 3 classes. A stock class, which is essentially an homage to the old school buy one off the shelf, in a sense, buy one off the dealer's lot, soup it up, in your garage at your house, and then throw it on the track, get it on the track, and see how well you do. And then after that, a modified class, which is essentially people who've gone well outside the bounds of what you could buy at your local dealership. So they tend to race all sorts of crazy vehicles.
Well, let me say the stock is everybody flies one of the same ship, so it's less so much about the car.
I'll get to it. Calm down. Calm down. Right. I'm getting there. Let me explain the whole thing first. So modified class is a mix of ships. So essentially it's all sorts of crazy things that you can find, but they do have restrictions in general for modified class. It could be horsepower restrictions. It could be essentially value of the car. It could be all sorts of things. It just depends on what the promoter wants to do that weekend. And then there's an open class, which tends to be bring anything that you could get 4 wheels underneath and show up. And those are the craziest races, because what tends to happen is there's a few people at the front of the thing who are bumping and banging and having a great time, and there's people at the back of it having the same thing. And it's like, oh yeah, there's somebody that's going to win. But the race is over the entire track, because there's people fighting for, I don't want to be last sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So to that end, I said, let's break up X-wing into the same idea. So for a stock class, my original idea was headhunters. They're a very kind of, I hate to say drab ship, but they're a very neutral ship.
Very vanilla.
Obviously, yeah.
Mediocre.
Scum has a version of it. The Rebels have a version of it, and the Empire doesn't, probably because that doesn't fit our aesthetic of 2 giant things on the sides of it. So they don't have one, but you're like, everybody in the galaxy has one. This is essentially your Toyota Camry or your Honda Accord of the universe. So, I thought let's start with that as a basis and see what we can do. And I can describe modified and open later at a later date, because what we spent most of our time recently is obviously on the stock class, because in a sense it proves the essence of Mario Kart. It is everybody flying basically the same ship with a limited amount of modification. And I won't go into the details of that just because it doesn't really matter for this, for what we're talking about. But in general, the ship is identical. Everybody's got the same ship with, minor tweaks to their pilot through EPTs or through modifications or putting a ordnance on it or not. But that all comes down to the player. And then when you're on the table, when you're flying your ship, you all have the same dial. So you know what your opponents can do. You know what their ship can do. And so it becomes a test of pilot ability, test of the player's ability to fly their ship and kind of anticipate what their opponents are going to do. And I have said for a long time on this show and obviously in private that the soul of X-wing for me is 2 guys across the table from each other trying to, in a sense, outguess each other for where their maneuvers, what their maneuvers are going to be. It's a dogfight.
Yep.
And I have lamented so much of the current cards and the current meta, mainly because it's pulling the game away from what I see as the soul of the game. It's making it so, you don't really need to be the best pilot because your cards are going to overcome your shortcomings. You don't need to perfectly anticipate what your opponent's going to do because, hey, look, I've got, stay on target. That lets me adjust my maneuver to something else completely because I had no idea what my opponent was going to do. And I know people don't necessarily use that all the time, but that's an idea. And I have lamented how much the game's moved away from it. So I wanted the stock version of this game to be back to its roots, which is what, in a sense, these Saturday night races are about racing in general. Back to your roots, back to some guy tinkering in his garage trying to to race around a track against a bunch of other people who have exactly the same thing, except for whatever they did to it over the weekend. And so what we've done is I put out the first track or we never tested the original track that we were given that kind of introduced us all to the game. I actually went and designed. I hate to say design, but created this track that's very simple on the surface. You see it, and it's just a circle. It's just 4 corners around the outer edge of a 3x3 table, and you're like, "Oh, this is so boring. There's nothing here."
The diamond track.
And the diamond track is what Jim's calling it. And what I did is shortcutted all the corners. Basically, took the corners off of. And you can go to the Facebook page and you can pull this up because people have played on it. I think Biff, a friend of the show, has created an actual vinyl matte version of this that looks excellent. It really does.
Okay.
And so in the corners, you have essentially a cutoff that turns the map in the center into a diamond. And those cutoffs are where turrets are at. And against and I can change this up. We can obviously change all these rules, but in the corner, there are 3 die turrets. And there's no range modifier because you're going to be at range 1 of these things. So as long as you're in that little chute in the corner, during the combat phase, you're getting 3 dice before you can fire because turrets fire before everything. And the idea there was there's a risk reward of taking the corner. It can take about 2 turns off of your maneuvering around this track for every corner that you go around. But you cannot make that chute in 1 turn. So you can't get all the way across it with the headhunter in 1 turn.
And it's narrow.
And it's only 2 bases wide, so you can't fit a large base ship through it because it's exactly as wide as a large base ship.
And there's no barrel rolling.
Right, so you can't once you're in the tunnel. Once you've committed, you can't barrel roll.
Can't
obviously
boost
there's
at an angle.
no boosting because we've taken engine upgrades out of the game.
Well, even if you could, you boost at an angle, you're hitting the wall. It's tight.
Yeah, it's so tight you're not going to be able to boost into anything other than straight. And if you didn't hit it straight, you're going to boost into the wall as well. So the idea behind the turret is it's 3 dice. It should not kill a headhunter that's undamaged in 1 round of firing, unless you are extremely unlucky and get 2 hits and a crit, and the crit's a direct hit, and you fail everything. It can happen, but it shouldn't. Now your opponent might see you. Oh, look, he's going into the tunnel. All I need to do is get 1 damage on him, and the gun might finish him off, sort of thing. But what the tunnels do is they allow people to catch back up. If you run the risk running through those tunnels, you can really shortcut the race really, really well. And what I've done is put checkpoints at the ends. So basically at every point in the diamond, there's a checkpoint. So you run the tunnel, you run the risk. If you make it, you're probably going to be rewarded and not have to go back to the previous checkpoint. If you don't, you're going to basically go back to the start of the tunnel. And this will make a lot more sense if you look at it on the Facebook page. But we had received some grumbling.
What?
We'd received some grumbling from some people who said the track looks boring. And I can understand that. It's a circle. But if you've never played Mario Kart, and specifically if you've never played this map, it's difficult to really understand how competitive this sort of map is, because it's hard to get away. It's hard for any ship to break away from the pack and essentially disappear around a turn so you can't be shot anymore. So
it's a good track.
It's a good track. It's very simple, but it's a very good track. Especially, it's good to learn on.
At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is is it fun to fly on.
Right, and that's what I think. Everybody who's played it has had fun. They've told me they have, but who knows? They could be secretly hating it. But so after hearing some grumblings, I said, okay, screw you people. I'm going to make a track that is not 4 corners. So I can get as many corners as I can think of into this. And I posted a picture of it on the Facebook page. And to be perfectly frank, it's ludicrous. It is a 3x3 board. It has to have 12 turns in it. It might be more than 12.
Yeah.
It's got multiple hairpins. It's extreme. So we tested the same. We tested the same thing. Let's throw headhunters on the table and let's see how we do. Well, 3 hours later, we hadn't gotten to the halfway point. Okay, so let's scrap the headhunters and we'll try it with a different ship. So we tried it with
there is some feedback even as well from Biff, friend of the podcast, which I think is a new title.
Yeah, that's right. It's his official title now. Everyone who's used it once. It's his official title.
His playtest group was like, let's try something besides Z95s. They're just kind of so-so.
Well, they tried X-wings first, I believe is what they wanted.
We tried X-wings too.
Yeah, the X-wings were
bloodbath.
Brutal. Yeah, the X-wings were just a bloodbath because of the 3 dice. And even though we cut off the guns for the first couple turns just to try and get people, separate a little bit, at 4 dice at range 1, you're going to get a shot almost every turn because you're not going to get away. So there was so much death. We say, all right, scrap the X-wings. They're too powerful,
too ugly.
So the next step was, okay, let's try Seeks, which in general, I like Seeks. Jim and I have talked about this. They provide so much opportunity for shenanigans. I'm going to go with the new lightweight frame title, and just hope that I can use that and get away from the pack. Or you can go heavy and get a cannon and the extra hull and just try and hammer your way around the course. And they're fast, but they're not as fast as people think.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a secret super
slow.
fast. Like they're the same speed in a sense in a straight line as an X-wing. So they're not really blisteringly fast. They're not an A-wing. Let's put it that way. So we tried the Seeks, had fun, and it knocked it down to about 2 hours to get around that. No, wait a minute. It was an hour to get to the halfway point because I remember I called it. So it was about an hour to get to the halfway point of this map.
Crazy one.
But everybody had fun. It was a lot of fun, but for convention purposes, still too long. So the last one, I finally got frustrated, and I was like, nope, I'm turning everything off. No, no boxes, no guns, no nothing. You don't even get to shoot. Everybody take an A-wing, and let's try this on this map. Just fly. Just race with an A-wing. And 2 guys finally finished. I need to post the pictures because it was a hilarious finish.
It was.
But it took 40 minutes to get the full lap in on this track with A-wings.
With no shooting, no anything, just flying, and it took 40 minutes.
You're skipping all the shooting phase.
Yep. There was basically nothing other than pick your dial, move, pick your dial, move.
So it's
the occasional
abbreviated.
Right. So the only damage you could take in the game was from hitting walls and from bumping each other. Was the only damage that we left in the game, and we still all died once. So just give you an idea of how quickly it can happen in this game. But as a brief finish on this, one of the rules is at the end of a turn, at the end of the entire end phase, the ship furthest past the finish line is the winner. So it doesn't have anything to do with pilot skill, doesn't have anything to do with the first person to pass the line. You have to finish the end phase. So if you cross the line and your competitor behind you guns you down, because the way I look at this is it's all kind of happening at the same time. You didn't make it across the list. Your components of your ship made it across the finish line, and that's not considered a ship. So if they can blow you out of the thing before you cross, then or even though you've crossed, then you didn't officially finish the race. So 2 guys were finishing. It was Jim and actually the father who'd only played. I think it was like his second or third game playing.
No, he's played a few times at home with his family. Yeah, and even downloaded Here's the Terry Cluster.
Yeah, so a long cry from being an expert in this game. And the one great thing about this is it teaches you turning. It teaches you how to fly a ship really well. Because his kid was really good at this by the end of it. Like his kid was all over the place. He had a few issues with going too fast in a straight line, but in general, he had it nailed down pretty well by the end.
And you learn 2 banks are sometimes better than 3 banks.
You learn pretty well. So, quick synopsis of the end. Jim and him are like basically neck and neck. Jim's right on his bumper the whole time. They turn the final corner, and you're like, oh, this guy's got it. All he's got to do is go 5 forward and boost, right? And Jim's right behind him. Probably half.
Pass him. I can't pass him.
Yeah, cannot pass him because he's just hogging the whole track.
Last corner is these really, really tight switchbacks.
Yeah. Right. And like I said, it's a devious track. I really love the track, but it just doesn't work for time. So Jim's opponent, I cannot think of his name, goes 5 forward. He's taking a risk. He goes 5 forward because he's not squared up in the track. He didn't turn the corner perfectly.
He went too fast, and
he went too fast, essentially overturned. And when he did his 5 forward, he crossed the line, but he hit a wall. Okay, and when you hit the wall, you lose your action. You take a stress, you lose action. And so he was stuck there on the wall. He finished. Jim turns the corner, 5 forward, and the boost from the A-wing got him like an 1/8 of an inch past the other guy. He wins, right? It's like to me, it's like the perfect finish to a race like this, where one guy's trying to keep the other one in front or behind him, and he goes wild into the last corner and just wrecks going through, or it hits a wall going through, and Jim
just barely
goes right by him. And that's the joy of this. This was no guns, no boxes, no nothing, just a race around this track, and people still had fun. But we still had to scrap that track because it took too long.
It was too crazy.
So I don't want to give any details away. I am going back. I have another track in mind that I think is going to fix all of these problems, and both for the interesting, boring level that we heard a little bit of grumblings on, and also for the time. But the biggest thing we want right now is obviously for people to have fun with it. And I think, barring people just being grumbly about losing, I think you have a good time with this almost without fail, as long as it doesn't take 4 hours to finish a race. Because at least I saw in that instance of 4 people with no shooting, just a pure race through this, still had fun with getting each other's way and learning to fly these ships and not, run them over the walls and that sort of stuff. So I think it'll be fun. I obviously welcome people to test on their own, test with their own crazy makeup tracks. And one of the many things that we have found is that the game is so kind of variable. You could do anything to it and it's still fun. Do you want to have turrets? Do you not want to have turrets? Do you want to have a ton of boxes everywhere, or do you just want a few strategically placed? Do you want the simplest track that you could think of that we did, or do you want the most complex, crazy one? You could play it on a 6x3 table if you wanted to. You could have eight ships on there. Just be prepared to play all day. But you could we've kind of narrowed it down to 4 ships is about the perfect number on this. But if you wanted to have a big Saturday epic level game and just give everybody one ship, but play 8 or 12 of you on one gigantic map, it would work.
It makes me think of that Hanna-Barbera cartoon, the one with the race every week.
The wacky races. Yeah, the wacky
races.
But that's essentially what this is it is casual in a nutshell. There is nothing here but putting one ship on the table and trying to outfly each other. There's no tournament really involved in this. It's just bragging rights for somehow winning out on this stuff. If you want teleports, if you want essentially ramps, or you want figure 8s, you want whatever you can think of, and if you can tape it out and make it make sense that everybody understands what's going on, you can do it. If you want shortcuts, if you want walls that open and close based on turns, like, you can do that in this. And everything that you can think of is going to make this fun, as long as the ships are relatively equal to each other.
I do think
that's the one trip up.
We need to tweak the boxes a bit. So first we had one deck, and then I researched, and if you're in the front, you're not going to get the best cards. If you're last place, you should get the better cards. And so we made a first place, last place, and the middle decks with different things. And I think we got to tweak what's in the last place deck, because as it was, we put too many of the lightning bolts, which in Mario Kart shrinks you, makes you really small and not go fast. And we have it where it ionizes you, but we had way too much ionization, and ionization will slow the game down. And it would kill me. People die when they get ionized, like at a corner or in front of
the ionization in this is such a hindrance to the time, if nothing else. So if you want to play that guy who takes like an ion turret on one of the other like modified classes or something, you can really screw people up with that.
Oh, it's deadly.
So it's we had to take it out of the game for some of the rules that I had originally kind of altered. and we're going to have to really look at that for the card decks as well. So for anyone who is interested in this, I don't know if we have posted all of the rules out anywhere. We'll have to check, but obviously we're going to do this at Gen Con. We're working really hard to get this nailed down to not only for time, but also for just how much fun it'll be for everybody. Yeah, and very balanced. So I'm confident that by the time we get to Gen Con, we're going to have probably the best balanced version of this that's available, and maybe that you can get to for just how much time we've spent kind of working on this. And it's become my baby in the X-wing world. I think is the whole Mario Kart stuff. So I'm looking forward at some point to actually doing a race and posting kind of the entire race up somehow, either through video or audio or something. But we have to obviously get
guys or something.
Yeah, we have to obviously get it down to time, because I think people seeing a race instead of just hearing us talk about it will really kind of solidify in their heads how much fun you can have doing this, because it's not as cutthroat. It's not as much me against you as the 106 kind of version is. It's as much you against the track as it is you against your opponents. And it's a way to get multiple people playing at the same time. So if you have the odd guy, hey, let's play Mario Kart. We don't need 4 ships. We can run it with 3. We can do 5 ships. It might take a while, but we can still do it that way, which is sometimes is necessary at the store, instead of having somebody sit around for an hour for one of the 106 tables to open up.
Yeah. All right. I think it's pretty cool. It's exciting. I think we go into more detail later. It'll be even better. But just for, I know there's a bunch of people out there who have been trying it or interested in doing it, and reach out to us with the email, theshuttletydirium@gmail.com, or on the Facebook page, and we can get you the rules if you're interested in trying it. And even with the rules and their latest tweaks, there's a guy from Raleigh that reached out on Facebook, was like, hey, what are the rules? I really want to try it. It's really fun. So yeah, and we'll love your feedback too. So anything you can do to, if you want to play it, it'll help us in the long run. Cool. All right. Now I do think do we have time for a B team? You do it fast.
We have as much time as we want.
All right.
At least we always seem to.
Yeah, I think we have time for a B team before we close.
Watch it, you've got one on your tail. Yes, I can hold it. Hold on! No.
B teams. All right. So this B team was submitted via the Facebook page by Scott Weasel, who we've talked about before. And once again, I'm sure it's spelled Weasel, and I'm sure it's probably something like Flemish, and it's Weisel or something. And I'm completely insulting his name, but that's how you'd pronounce it in a dictionary. Scott Weasel. And he's got an interesting B list called the Idiot's Array. Now, I didn't know the background to Sabak, the card game in Star Wars Galaxy, because
you didn't play Sabak. We did when you were gone. That's right. The Sabak episode.
We didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what is Sabak?
Sabak's an illegal game, I'm fairly certain, in the Empire. It's not something you're supposed to be. You shouldn't know about that sort of thing anyways.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it in the HoloNets, but I don't really get it. But you seem to know about it, Phil. Do you want to kind of even just say what the goal of Sabak is? Or I've got his right up here.
I definitely know what Sabak is and exactly how to play. It's basically, it's a little bit like a blackjack, where you have to you're aiming to get your hand close to a certain number, 23, either negative or positive. And you can do things like exchange cards. But there's a special hand called the Idiot's Array, which you can beat I think you can beat a perfect hand with this. But not only just the Idiot Array is only 2 or 3 points. So if someone doesn't have a perfect hand, then you just have a really bad hand, and you lose.
So here it is. It's because he's got it listed. It's the Joker, the 2 and the 3. So the Joker is 0. So basically, you're supposed to get to 23, and it's kind of the Joker and then the card 2 and the card 3 that says 23. So it's the idiot's array. It's the idiot sabacc.
And you can beat like a perfect score with that. But nothing
Right.
else.
And so it's named that because in here, the pilot skills of these 3 pilots are PS0, kind of, PS2, and PS3.
So what pilot
And so
skills?
it's a rebel list, and the first is a U-wing with Blue Squadron Pathfinder, PS2. And he's got fire control system, Lando Calrissian, because if you're gambling, why isn't Lando there? A tactician, to give you stress at range 2, and the pivot wing title. So he seems pretty straight up. You use Lando, you get focuses or evades, whatnot. And then he's got U-wing with Heftober, who is PS3. Now he's got enhanced scopes system, which puts him to PS0. So he goes before anybody because Heftober, he's the one that if a ship moves and bumps you, you get a free action. And so who does he put on the Bumpmeister himself? But Boshek, Saboteur, and Pivot Wing. So Saboteur, do an action, choose an enemy ship with a face-down damage die, roll the die, crit, flip it to a crit. So Saboteur, which has never been really worthwhile, but hey, it could for a free action from Hef, and then so Hef gets out there to bump, and if you bump him, he's got Boshek, he's going to mess you up your next turn, or if he even bumps you first before you've gone, all sorts of crazy shenanigans with Hef.
Yeah.
And then lastly, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, Boshek works like this. So when he reads, when a ship you are touching activates, you may look at its chosen maneuver. If you do so, its owner must rotate the dial to an adjacent maneuver. So you can bump into somebody, and then when they activate, you screw with their dial.
Yeah. So he's great to bump into you, or you bump into him. It's just all around nonsense. And he's a huge base ship, large base ship that's trying to get all in your way. So the Hef is it's kind of fun. And then there's a YT-1300. Now everybody knows that the Outer Rim Smuggler is now relegated to the dustbin because the Resistance Sympathizer is here. He's a pilot skill 3 generic Falcon pilot, but he's got the 3 attack die.
Yeah, he's got 3 attack die, and he's got the better hull and shield.
Okay, yeah.
Outer Rim only has 6 hull and 4 shields, but all the other Falcons had 8 hull and 5 shields.
Right. So, which was just wrong. Which was just bad.
Yeah, that was something that they regretted, I think.
Right. And so he's loaded with a tactician for that range 2 stress mechanic, snuggling compartment upgrade, which, the smuggling compartment gives you the therefore Han and Leia, but also lets you smuggle in some black market slicer tools. So it's got the things to dish out stress, and then you can use black market slicer tool to do something about that stress. And what does he write about this particular list? He says, so PS0, sort of, with the enhanced scopes. PS2, PS3 relies heavily on luck. In the play, tactician causes stress, which can be made into hull damage by a black market slicer tool, and then flipped into a crit using Saboteur.
Dun, dun, dun!
Yeah. Boshek is there just for shenanigans, although Lando Calrissian crew may be useful, or no, Cassian Andor crew may be useful in this place to help ensure more overlaps for Hef. Lando is in there because he couldn't not be there with the fire control system, helping with offensive actions for Blue Pathfinder. So Blue Pathfinder with fire control systems doesn't need his action to modify his attack dice because Lando is there, Lando Lakes, and he's going to roll those dice. You're going to get all the evades, focus evades out of him because he's a gambling man.
Right.
Hello, what have we here?
2 blank green dice. All right.
Yeah, which is all it would be if I was using Lando. Just, oh, look, blanks again. Apparently he's been asleep the whole match.
But I think it's a cool little list. I think it'd be fun to try, you know?
Yeah, this definitely looks fun. The Heftober U-Wing with all the Saboteur and the Boshek combined with the Resistance Sympathizer with the Black Market Slicer tools, it's pretty it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly a lot of base. I mean, 3 large base ships on the table always takes up a lot of room when you start getting into close range fighting. So it might be, with those low pilot skills, a huge blocking list. Obviously, just wedging stuff into certain places so they can't really do very much. But at the same token, going to get hit a lot at range 1 more than likely with those ships.
And also with having the tacticians out there, you know, and even with the YT-1300 firing in 360, you know, there's a arc dodging master who evades all your hits, but now he's stressed at least.
Well,
you know,
the
or
tactician only
X7
works in arc.
Okay. So, well, at least you can get someone like a X7, or you can get some other crazy old arc dodger or somebody, and you can put a stress on them, and then Black Market Slicer tool, bam, try to turn it into a damage, then boom, try to turn it into a crit, you know, to get lucky with like a direct hit. Now that defender's got 1 whole point left.
Yeah, it's not impossible to actually, you know, use that Saboteur a few times.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a unique feature.
I think it's pretty funny.
Saboteur is like it's one of those, like, it's like a hipster X-wing card. Like, and you're gonna use Saboteur. It's
hipster card.
Yeah.
Back with Merrick
This is
Steele.
an old classic back in the old days.
I flew Merrick Steele
something that
before
you-
the Untitled Chapter. Oh. Yeah. But I like it. I like the background and the idiot's array, the name, the background, and how it works. It's just pure win. And I liked it so much I wanted to include it in the podcast. Thank you, Scott. Woohoo. So that's it for another short hour-long episode of the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. If you haven't noticed, Sling Paint is a local guys who do a YouTube channel. I think they're the only YouTubers who do a regular X-wing thing, but they interviewed me and put it up, which is kind of fun. So you want to see what I look like, and actually,
you're more animated than I imagined. You're always shaking your fist at something. I feel like.
Oh yeah,
throughout that
now you
interview.
get to see lots of fist shaking. But he's not animated. Y'all haven't seen me. I'm the more animated one of the crew, I think.
He's got more moving parts. He's more.
Yeah, but it was a funny interview just to kind of have them see what we have to put up with every episode. All the Jim take. Shut up! I'm talking now.
Let me overtalk everyone.
all the random sounds that are going on in the background. It sounded like someone was vacuuming.
What was that? What was up with that? There was a dirt bike or something, and no one admitted to having it in their background. Who? Come on, guys! Somebody.
It was like 10 11 o'clock at night. It was not me. I think it was one of Berto's
Everyone's like, "Oh, not me."
components. Because it sounded like it was coming through my speakers, because it was coming through my headset. I heard it only in my headset, and no, it's not me, but I don't know.
I swear it sounded like somebody vacuuming, like they were just.
There's some neighborhood kids who got drones for Christmas, and I walk outside. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, there's the drones. So it sounds like drones. I'm telling you, if you ever.
There's no telling, honestly, with all the recording equipment, you just never know what it's going to get. But
we should also plug the Star Wars podcast competition.
Go on, yes.
What is it? What is it called exactly? It's Star Wars.
The
podcast.
2017 Star Wars Podcast Awards.
Yes.
They can't do it anywhere near as good as Jake or as J-Bot.
Yeah, so I guess every year there's this little awards program for Star Wars.
It's
podcast.
a major award. It's not a little.
We have a chance this year to win a major award for the Shuttle Tydirium
Dude,
podcast.
Wait, we have a chance at that? You guys are, we don't. I don't know that we have enough people as followers to beat up some of those big ones that are out there.
There's different categories. Yeah. Here's the thing: there's different categories. You have to go nominate your choice of podcast. One of them is new podcast.
Yep.
So if you started in 2016 or 2017, you could be nominated for best new Star Wars podcast. And
there's also
how many other Star Wars are
gaming
out there?
category, which we'd only be competing with our X-wing podcasts.
Oh,
mostly.
There's only 20 other ones.
Yeah, we'd be it's a smaller set anyway. And then there's also editing/production value, which I think
with our
actually
that would be good.
Yeah,
make a decent run at, because we do.
So the way it works is there's all these categories, and you can put in, write in the name of your favorite podcast, and some of the other categories be great for non-Shuttle Tydirium ones. I would still hate you, but you can vote for somebody else. And but the 5 with the most nominations go into the voting. So we really need people to nominate us, particularly for best new podcast. Because come on, how many other Star Wars podcasts have started out within the past year and are better than us?
None.
I'm sure. I don't listen to any, so
none that I know of.
Yeah, right. I mean, come on, they can't be anywhere near as good as us. Ours is the only one that has me.
That's true. The J-Bot show.
But yeah, so obviously there's I had completely forgotten about the whole Star Wars podcast deal. But yeah, check out Jim's video or interview on the YouTube channel, on Sling Pank's channel. And then mosey over to our YouTube channel and check out some of our archives. They're starting to slowly get uploaded by me. That's why they're slow. And the Facebook page is always there. We're actually almost to 300 people, which is amazing. At least in my opinion, it's amazing because that's almost 300 people that are willing to listen to our shenanigans on a mostly weekly basis and derive some form of entertainment from it. So, and then as always, the Shuttle Tydirium at Gmail. Is that what it was? Yep. The email. So questions, comments, concerns, that sort of thing. Send them to us. We like all that sort of thing. We tend to respond. Not always, but we tend to respond. And so, yeah, lots of ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah, definitely. Undoubtedly. All right. And as we approach Endor, I'd like to say thanks for flying with us on the Shuttle Tydirium podcast, and hope you tune in next week for another exciting episode. All right. Peace out, guys.
Yep. Good.